Hello there, my very good friends. Welcome to Questions and Answers, the show where you ask questions and we give you answers, and I'm not ripping off hot ones whatsoever. Very simple concept. I put out a Twitter thread during the week, you reply, and we pick 10 questions and we answer them right here, right now. So to start things off, here's one from Cy Hawks, who would like to know, one assumes Bryan Danielson is winding down and this will be his last run with eventual retirement. Who does he feud with and who does he drop the title to on his way out? What do you think?
Sting.
Yes.
That's how he comes out of retirement, and we're just in an endless loop of Sting and Bryan Danielson for the belt for retirement over and over again.
What could be better?
Tony Khan sells hundreds of millions of pay-per-views off the strength of it. No. Well, obviously he's got lined up Christian and Darby Allin in the short term. There have been bigger shocks than someone like a Darby Allin shocking the world and winning the title at the second attempt. But as of this recording, and you might watch Dynamite, or you might now know when Bryan addresses his future exactly how they're going to lay it out. But it does feel like they're going to lay out a sort of win or retire tour now he's got the title. And I do think it'll be in Bryan's best interest, or in his sort of, the way he's done business over the years, to want to make a new start and make a new champion in the process. But I guess that requires looking around on the roster and figuring out who that might be. Like, who have AEW got right now as their sort of next star in waiting? Had Darby Allin not been getting the shot at Grand Slam, I actually would have said him. He feels at this point increasingly like an uncrowned AEW World Heavyweight Champion. The only guy I can think of as a result of somebody that is homegrown, who has yet to sort of win an AEW World title, or has yet to get that sort of like one win that breaks him through to the tippy-toppy guy forever, is Orange Cassidy.
Yes,
genuinely.
absolutely.
Like, he came out at Wembley Stadium to Pixies, and it was that reminder that yet again he's there. Well, I don't know what you call it. He's their Undertaker.
He's their Mr. Bean.
He's their Mr. Bean looking ass. No. So, like, I look around and I think, if not Darby Allin, he's that one guy that feels like a bit of an omission from that AEW Hall of World Champions.
Yeah.
So it's him I'm looking at right now. But that is all based on Bryan doing win or retire. Maybe Birdie whispered in his ear,
yeah.
all right, Dad, you can keep going. And maybe we just get another 5 years in.
Or maybe he was lying all along.
Well,
it's pro wrestling after all.
I
I got 2 picks for you. Number 1 is Darby Allin. I think you can just do the title change at Grand Slam if you want. I know it's only about 5-6 weeks away, but like, if you're going to do a short title run, it's going to be for the guy who has chronic neck problems and needs to take time off, right? If the story is I'm going until the wheels fall off, you can do that quickly.
Just knock the wheels off.
Yeah, just kick him in the butt, or the wheels, and that would be believable, and actually just a good realistic story to tell with him. So I would go down that route. I think Darby Allin's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and he has been for a great many years now. My second option is a bit more hopeful and would require more of a build, because this guy, in my opinion, is in the gutter at the moment. It is a redemption arc for Kazuchika Okada. I think that the reduction of Kazuchika Okada from one of the best wrestlers of all time, minimum like top 10, to comedy guy who says one word funnily, and look, he does say that funnily. I laugh every single time, but it's like you've turned one of the greatest of all time into R-Truth. Or like, you know, like a comedy act, a mid-card comedy act.
Yeah, does stand for Rainmaker.
Yeah, like he fancies Mercedes money and he says bitch. That's his entire deal, and it sucks. So if you can spend the next 4 or 5 months building Kazuchika Okada back up to where he was when he signed with AEW, I think that'd be really compelling as well.
Is it controversial to argue as well that the redemption arc, as you put it, might not even be for Okada himself, but for those two? I don't think they've yet had the match that we all think they can have. The Wrestle Kingdom one got more raves than the Forbidden Door one. Danielson picked up the injury halfway through, but it does feel like there's a match in them that we haven't yet seen, doesn't it?
A better match, yeah.
Especially like a world title, a hot program. Like, it feels like one to get to before Bryan finishes up, at very least.
Agreed.
Let us know what you think, because it's Bryan Danielson. He's just reminded us at the weekend that there's 50 million of them that you could still watch.
He's got to wrestle Nigel as well.
Oh, of
to make
course.
that clear.
Yeah.
That has to happen.
Absolutely.
Whether or not, you know, I don't think I'm putting the title on Nigel as much as I like him.
No.
But you got to do that match.
We're getting it. I love, I put this over on our All-In podcast review, wherever you get your podcasts. I saw this on Twitter, that somebody made the point that, like, tacitly, by even entering the Casino Gauntlet, McGuinness begrudgingly believed Bryan was going to win the title.
Yeah.
And like, he wouldn't want to reveal that about himself, but like, he's going to get it done. Yeah. So like, that lingers in the background of whenever they fight.
Well, if there's one thing we know about Nigel McGuinness, it's that he's in it to win it. So there you go. My favourite wrestling catchphrase of all time.
Where's the camera going to go? I'm going to do McGuinness.
There you go.
Mark
The red light, mate.
Oh, no, there's none on, Nicholas, I swear, I'm doing my best. Mark Jones, this is Mark Jones, thank you very much for your question. Considering how good Tony Khan is at these gauntlet matches, should he make AEW's Rumble and build a show around it? If so, in kayfabe, how do you deal with the chaos of somebody winning the match before all the participants have officially joined?
Yeah, I think that this is the next great gimmick match in wrestling. I know that's not exactly a hot take. I know pretty much everyone with taste has said that so far, but like it's always great.
Yeah.
Like so far, they've just been these incredible hit parades where it's just cool thing, cool thing, cool thing, cool thing, conclusion. The one at All In was probably my favorite so far.
Yeah.
Just so many cool things, like, you know, the Ricochet debut, the Nigel McGuinness return, Ricochet working his absolute ass off. He wasn't even doing charity work, community work, he was just wrestling.
A good stadium one.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett pop,
Yeah.
like Zack Sabre Jr., like, it's a great match. So for me, the deciding factor in all of this is if it becomes a pay-per-view and it becomes like a date on the calendar, does it become less special as a consequence of that?
Yeah.
So that's a common complaint hurled at things like Hell in a Cell and War Games, and I think it's more applicable to those because those are like bitter, bloody rivalry settlers that should really come up as and when required, not because, okay, tick box, we're in December now, we have to do this. For the Casino Gauntlet, I think that's less of a concern. And I actually think that because these matches have been so much fun, if you just built it as a pay-per-view or a special episode of Dynamite, yeah, it would pop a nice number and people would tune in specifically to see it. So I think it's a good idea. The second part, the chaos of somebody potentially winning before the match, yeah, I wonder if maybe they need to tweak that rule slightly. It would be a bit of a bummer if you tuned in and the person who entered third just pinned someone and won. Maybe they do need to hone that a little bit, but at the same time it does add an element of unpredictability.
This is it, right? It's going to happen because wrestling will always do this. They'll jump on something that works. Like your point about Hell in a Cell Elimination Chamber, even AEW have now fallen afoul with Anarchy in the Arena and Blood and Guts. Yeah. Not only are they at the same time every year, they're always super close to each other, so one tends to undermine the other.
Cannibalize.
Yeah, we're just stuck with it. I personally want AEW desperately to show a bit of restraint with this gimmick. I want 1 week there to be one on Dynamite that ends after 2 minutes. I want the chaos to reign. Evil Uno was backstage at Wembley waiting to go out on stage and then lost his opportunity. And obviously that plays into the Hangman Page beatdown angle on last week's Dynamite. You could run one as the opener of Dynamite that ends up accidentally going the full 2 hours and then Dynamite runs out of time. Like, there are a million different ways to book this match that we haven't even seen yet. AEW have ran 3 this year.
I think so.
Probably too many going forward, but at least doing maybe like sort of 1 or 2 a year and bang into it. And I don't think I would like this to be, I think, All In's Money in the Bank. So you always run one in a stadium because stadium shows need range. Stadium matches warrant big pops, and you're always going to get them with entrances, surprises, comebacks, sentimental occasions. There'll be some Texas wrestlers. Like, look, I'm not joking when I say this. Kevin Von Erich in next year's Casino Gauntlet while they're in Texas.
Grabbing,
right,
clawing
people, right? Yeah. This is the match. He doesn't need to win. Doesn't need to throw a guy over the top.
He just needs to claw someone.
Doesn't need to take a bump, does he? He just needs to claw people. Like, the weirder you keep this, I never want to know how the entrance times are supposed to be because in my head, it's in Tony Khan's head. Yeah. He's just got his queue of wrestlers going, go, go, go. Like, that's how I want this to always work in the fiction of wrestling. So yeah, I don't need the pay-per-view. So I don't need the sort of gimmick speciality. I just want the constant, like, unknowing of it all. I love the stipulation.
Yeah, like, it's fantastic. Like, I would have been in full favour of AEW literally just ripping off the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Just steal the Royal Rumble. Like, rebrand. They've obviously done the Royal Rampage and stuff like that. But they've actually done one better and they found their own kind of twist on it. I'm not saying that this is better than the Royal Rumble. Don't come at me. The Royal Rumble's like my favourite event ever. But they found their
video title.
It's better to have your own version than to have a direct rip-off, right? At the end of the day, even though ripping off is sometimes perfect. So I'm delighted that they found this. It's really fun. Long may it continue. Speaking of continuing, let's ask another question. This one is from Patrick O'Malley, who would like to know, do you guys think that we're going to get a SummerSlam in the UK before we get a Mania?
Yes. Yes, I do. I'm just going to say that outright. I think maybe even as early as 2025. There is a gap for Wembley Stadium in the summer of 2025 that doesn't appear like it's going to be filled with Oasis dates. It doesn't appear like Taylor Swift can fill any more stadiums after the hundreds and hundreds she's done. And I genuinely think all those conversations that were taking place between Triple H, Nick Khan and Sadiq Khan, the tiny world heavyweight champion, might lead to SummerSlam. The first two-nighter maybe at Wembley next year. Yeah. We've already got the two-nighter confirmed for 2026.
Yep.
And WWE have got that big deal with Indianapolis about running every event other than WrestleMania. So we're learning in advance more and more and more about where the big shows are going to be. And yet there is a summer-shaped hole in 2025, and it's realistically the only one, you can't even guarantee it, but the only one you can guarantee nice weather for here in the UK. The last 2 years, AEW have had storms to be scared of on a Saturday and then bright sunshine on a Sunday. So even in August, you can't guarantee the weather, but the one time of year you could justify it is probably August. I think sooner rather than later, the story will drop and the UK will get SummerSlam, not least because it's an ego thing too. They want to try and break that record. They will not like that All In sits at the top of so many of those lists.
They're gonna, what they should do, and I'm in full favour of this level of pettiness, is that they should announce the attendance at like one more than AEW.
And announce it 2 days before the show.
Yeah, exactly. Whoa, hey, we've already got more.
It's 150 sellouts, so...
and then AEW should come back the next year and do one more person, and then it becomes a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think SummerSlam before WrestleMania, like April in the UK, is just not very nice. That's my deciding factor for it. Maybe they'll have to build it around Oasis's set next year. Will they have anything as elaborate as Taylor Swift, do you reckon?
I can't imagine so.
Probably not.
I want Noel Gallagher to bring back the giant Union Jack guitar, but as a catwalk. So they can like stand in the middle of the stage, like just in the sort of the centre of the fretboard or something like that.
Why the hell not? I saw Beyonce last year. She had a mirrored tank. So that takes something.
That's for throwing down the gauntlet to the Gallagher's here.
That's what we're getting at SummerSlam.
Mirrored tanks and Taylor Swift platforms.
We're doing Oasis versus the Usos. That's the main event. Anyway.
Oh boy. Speaking of good boys, I guess there's a picture of some dogs for you because people send
Legend.
them in. I will not acknowledge them, Timothy Bristol, but thank you all.
He's scared of them.
At Tim Bristol, don't trust them. Timothy Bristol asks, who takes the sickest bumps in pro wrestling today? This is a bit of you, this. Also, so me doggo picks to brighten your day. It didn't work for me personally. Sickest bumps in wrestling today.
Darby Allin.
Yes.
Easy Darby Allin. He's mental. The way he flings himself around, the way he dives off of things, and the way he folds his body up when he lands, and the way he is just completely willing to do the sickest stuff imaginable. Yeah. I think he is the leading contender. Although I do want to give a nod to Juice Robinson.
Jules Gill.
Yeah,
Jules
Gill.
Game show.
I almost said Jules again. To Juice Robinson for the balls bump he took it all in.
Oh my God.
That was idiotic, but because I'm a big nerd and I like to give you a big nerdy answer sometimes. Mayu Iwatani's pretty crazy as well. Mm-hmm. The way that she kind of ragdolls herself when she's taking bumps is like, it's good when I watch them and I know that it looks really painful, but I know that they're professionals and I trust them to do it safely. So those are my picks.
Mercedes Moné is not afraid of taking a header once in a while off a dive.
Crazy bumper, yeah.
And do you know I'm going to give credit to? Like, he's great at pretty much everything in wrestling on his best day. But I'm going to give a little bit of a shout out to MJF because that Tiger Driver 91 storyline was not for everybody. And at Wembley, the way in which she rotated at the very last second to truly put over the danger of it helped take a sort of divisive angle and make it kind of the moment of the match. Like if, we've Sidge mentioned this in the pod yesterday, there are ways to do it where, say for example, you're Kenny Omega and you just willing to compress your spine for the good of business. Yeah. Or like, it brought to mind the one for me, the Ultimate Warrior, Ravishing Rick Rude, half pile driver, half Tiger Driver deal at SummerSlam. MJF's last minute, like that was inch perfect. Scary, but he seemed to be fine. He seemed to get up and all that sort of stuff. So.
Danielson as well takes some pretty nutty ones.
I'm starting to think he's a pretty good wrestler.
Yeah.
I'll be the one to put my head above the power pit and make that statement now. At me if he must.
Maybe like top 2 in the world, maybe.
Ring the shame bell if he must, but I think it's pretty good.
Next question of the day comes from Ray, the Midnight Smoker, who would like to know what is the Mount Rushmore of wrestling entrance themes and why is it Gangrel? Yeah, Gangrel all four for Ray here. I mean, that's a great one, to be fair. If our backlighting was working, maybe the room would be red right now, but spoiler alert, it's kind of cooked. I mean, I love wrestling music. What are some of your faves? The top 4, obviously, Mount Rushmore.
It blows my mind that 1996 gave us the NWO and Stone Cold Steve Austin's first thing his first glass smash one at the very same time. Yeah. Both of those were getting for me. What else?
That has special meaning to us.
Oh, indeed it does, yeah. Warrior was my first favourite, and I think everyone would credit, if you're a Warrior guy, the theme is such a big part of that. I'm going to try it. Give me time to come back to like a niche-ish fourth one. Who would you stick in yours?
Hayabusa.
Yeah.
Take your pick, either his regular music or his dark side music, which is like a twist on it with like a guitar riff and stuff. Awesome, incredible. Like the peak for me of like that style of Japanese entrance theme with the synthesizers and the rock riff. Oh my goodness, we are so back. We were back. But yeah, Hayabusa, number 1 with a bullet. A more recent one would be The Butcher and the Blades. It's just a really good collection of metal riffs. Like it's just so well crafted, and I don't know if Mikey Ruckus did that on purpose, because Andy the Butcher, there goes the TV as well, was obviously in Every Time I Die until they kind of came to an end. We are so back.
It's over. We are so back.
I've got those for it too. Look, I'm not. Kind of brought into focus this week. He recently passed away, but Sid's music is incredible. The horror movie stuff. I'm putting that on there. Screw it. It's my list of top faves. And who am I going to go for? Yuji Nagata for number 4.
Oh, that's nice.
It just creates that big fight feel.
Well, with a slight link to that, I think Mount Rushmore questions are too hard because there's always more than 4. There's just so much wrestling. But with a slight link to Yuji Nagata and a big fight feel, I'm going to go with Jon Moxley's New Japan theme.
Okay.
2019 G1 Jon Moxley is a time I wish I could live every single day for the rest of my life.
G1 John.
I would get up in the morning and think about when the next Jon Moxley match was. Part of it was just the energy that he brought to the buildings, to the matches themselves, the classic with Tomohiro Ishii, pretty much everything else he did. But that entrance in that setting, in that time, for the business as well, when the winds of change were blowing through the entire industry. Like we'd all, let's be honest, right? Had a bit of a laugh at the sort of escaping from a big dog. It was a bit like, we've seen all this, John. Like remember us saying Moxley? Like we all enjoyed Moxley night. Raw was like, is this going to work? And then like he kind of kicked your ass and told you instantly it was.
The Juice Robinson match.
When he bit his face off. The theme, the vibe, the everything. That was just a time. And that music sort of sums it up for me as much as anything. So
Stone Cold's is a good one as well, though. It's literally 2 notes. Yeah. So you play, any idiot can play that on guitar. 0, 0, 1.
And it's not mine, but loads of people consider the Disturbed take on that like their favourite ever. The 2001 pivots when he went slow and then really quick when he was like the Paranoid Rattlesnake and all that. There's not really a bad version of the Austin theme.
Taz War Machine Kiss, incredible.
Itching for that when he was choking out Brian Keith.
Brian Pillman list.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Good ones.
Taz's WWE theme was good as well. Yeah. It's awesome. And the Cypress Hill version too.
We failed the Rushmore.
Yeah. This is more Mount Everest.
What in the comments, let us know your actual Rushmore. Stick to the rules because we failed.
There's only 4 presidents in US history and they're all on there. So.
Joshua, I'm running miles away from that. Joshua Charles Richard, thank you for your question. I like this one. We talked a little bit about this before we came in because it speaks to a time that thankfully we're not in. He asks, as both companies are in a lull periodically, where do you confer is the right time for fans to be truly invested back? For me, it's typically WWE Survivor Series onwards, AEW Revolution onwards. And bear in mind, as a fan of both companies, I've hit burnout despite taking, I don't know what he means quite this, but of All In. I'm assuming he's saying All In was amazing, but he's perhaps finding himself burnt out.
Overstimulated.
Yeah, I always think of 2 people I don't like that much, Chris Jericho and Vince McMahon. But Chris Jericho, speaking to Vince McMahon, I had it All In 2018, and Vince, of all things, saying, do the show if you want, nothing will come of that. It's not a good time to run events, and obviously how wrong that proved to be. This used to be when things went quiet in wrestling.
Summer slump.
Summer slump, yeah. But when would you say things kick into gear in the WWE and AEW calendars in the traditional?
Well, historically you have your little post-WrestleMania blitz and then it goes quiet for a couple of months, you build up to SummerSlam, you come back in. But then you get to December and everything sucks. Especially nowadays that we don't have Starrcade anymore. Well, I mean, it's been 23 years, but it's been a long, long time.
Bring it back.
Yeah, so like, I don't know if, you know what, this is a total cop-out, but I don't know if either company has a lull period anymore. I mean, WWE is just doing such a fantastic job of giving its audience what it wants on every single level. And AEW is like, AEW is an inconsistent company. For me, AEW never has periods where it's like, this period was good, this period sucked, blah, 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 blah. It's always just a little bit up and down. So you can have an absolutely classic episode of Dynamite one week and so-so one the next.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have 3 or 4 show runs. I think AEW is just kind of inconsistent. Booking wise, mostly good, but like it does have some dodgy weeks as well, and they're hard to predict. So kind of a cop-out answer, but I think that there's not really a great time, and I think you should just let your own level of burnout dictate when you dip in and out.
Yeah, I think so. AEW now, we're 5 years in, and I think you're right, especially if you're ranking it by pay-per-view to pay-per-view or whatever. There have been years where it's felt like Revolution has been the big show of the year. There have been years where Double or Nothing was the tentpole. We've just had 2 events at Wembley, so there's objectively your biggest events, regardless of whether last year's card really felt like it and whether this year's card can never be topped. You know, it's a bit more difficult to judge with AEW. I don't disagree with the point that you would typically in WWE look at Survivor Series as the road to the road. So you would look at it as like, what's Survivor Series telling you about the Rumble, ahead of the Rumble, what telling you about Mania. However, though we were supposed to think that, WWE pretty much abandoned that for about the last 10 years of Vince McMahon's creative regime, and under Triple H, like as somebody that like tracks it and is like pretty devoted to that show every week, to me it is pretty clear that he goes Mania to SummerSlam, SummerSlam to Mania. It does feel like he sort of targets his booking to have big peaks with the likes of the summer events in Europe that have taken place between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, and then Puerto Rico, the international shows, and then a big night at Survivor Series where all the pieces start falling into place for the Rumble to go to yet another huge night at WrestleMania. It does feel like at last we are back to the era of looking at the end destination and working backwards rather than just allowing the products to fall into slumps.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I certainly don't miss those cold, dark Decembers where we all come on screen and blame Baron Corbin for sucking and all of that. Right, our next question here is from Nerdbox, who would like to know, if Ricky Starks comes to WWE, which feels increasingly likely, would you have him feud with LA Knight? Yeah. Or CM Punk? Or, pick someone for Ricky Starks to work with, basically.
I will take the Punker. Thank you very much. I was really, really enjoying what they were cooking up on Collision before everything happened with CM Punk All In. And look, Bryan Danielson was an amazing replacement. Hey, wait a minute. Did Bryan Danielson have another great match? I think he might have done. The stuff he did with Ricky Starks as like the last minute replacement was exceptional. Exceptional stuff. But I think back to that Punk run on Collision, and it's less about what Punk did, it was more what Punk did for Starks. He came in, I think it was in the first or second episode, as like a babyface friend of the Stars, making up the numbers in multi-man tag matches, and then very gradually started to get angry, selfish, thinking, I'm going to win that Owen, actually. Became a cheating bastard, beat up Ricky Steamboat, was like sort of unbothered by CM Punk's star power, was ready to take his spot, and he'd not felt as hot as he had.
Personally insulted Edge, of course.
Oh my God. That really sent me over the edge. What a night that was. Maybe the beginning of the end in hindsight. I, as somebody that just loves the trajectory of Punk full stop, I'm into that unfinished business. And maybe Punk would too, actually. Maybe Punk would petition Triple H for getting a run with Ricky, because I imagine feels like he's got like a bit of a door still open there as well.
I would 100% go with that option over the LA Knight option, although like LA Knight's a lot of fun, obviously. I think the ceiling for a really high quality match is higher with Punk. That being said, Ricky Starks coming into WWE, if you're not going to do something with him and Cody as maybe like friends or allies, whatever, I would maybe go for someone like Sami Zayn. Like, say you're going to bring in Ricky Starks as a heel, right? I know Sami's away getting some stemmies at the moment, getting himself sorted out. But if you want to look at someone who does a good professional job with literally everybody, like the most recent example being Braun Breaker, just a guy who, maybe not the physical athlete he was 10 years ago, but has adapted around that and just become an incredibly effective, sympathetic babyface. And the Braun Breaker stuff really was incredibly pro from Sami. I think that Ricky is a great pairing for him, and I think they'd have a really good feud and match.
It's exciting to even think about Ricky Starks as both a babyface and a heel as well, isn't it? As you say, the ally of Cody that could easily turn. Like, for all it's been up and down in AEW, he has had that like, well, I've had a go at everything, so you can see that he can do it all. It's just going to be interesting, I think, now to see him against a different set of wrestlers. I think that's what I'm ready for.
Definitely.
Gav, at GavCW90, thank you very much, Gav, for the question.
Good man, we met him in Cardiff.
Oh, what a legend. I do remember that, yeah. Nice guy.
Sports the Hibs. Gads.
5 wrestlers from WWE and AEW have to go to the Eddie side, but to both go to New Japan. Sign 5-year deals, commit to being there and help them have another boom period. Gav says perhaps wrestlers that could do with a fresh scene rather than a Roman, Cody, Omega, Punk, Swerve, for example. So he's looking for those that maybe need the change.
Need someone fresh. New Japan needs the change as well, because as much as I appreciate the efforts to invest into younger talent like Yota Tsuji and Ren Narita and people like that, none of them have really caught fire for me quite yet, and they're all still developing, and they've all still got a bit of work to do. So, what are we talking? 5 wrestlers,
just from either company to go to New Japan.
Okay, cool. I think there's a lot of really compelling options in both companies. Across the board, I know we've just spoken about him, but I think Ricky Starks would be really cool in Japan. I don't know if he's wrestled there before. He was certainly very active on the indies before he went to AEW. I'm not sure about his Japanese wrestling history. But I think he would catch on really well there. Just his style, he's such a smart wrestler. Like, he can do all of the flippy stuff and all the flashy stuff. He just chooses not to. And when he does pull out like a big move or whatever, it's more impactful because it's really sparing. But I think his charisma would translate really well. And I would love to see him have a little run over there. I think that'd be pretty awesome. The thing with New Japan is like trying to fit people in, and they could really use some star power. So I'm gonna go Sheamus. Like, I don't necessarily think he needs anything new in WWE.
Into that though.
I think he's always good. But he's big hoss, wrestles a hard style. He'd be bigger than everyone almost on the roster, depending on whether or not Hikuleo is still there. He's tall. But Sheamus is buffer. I want to see him in a G1 in particular. Love that. You got any?
I think I'm going to steal a Sidgwick take first of all, because we all love him, but you can see the holes in his game. Trick Williams would do incredibly well to develop. I'm not saying for a permanent move, but like Sidge has been on that one for ages, and I think when you watch the matches you can see exactly what he's missing, even though he's got all the stuff that matters. He does. He's ready in one respect, but then in others there's no harm in a bit of seasoning. Somebody who is having an absolutely brilliant, fantastic run on television, but as a result could probably do with going back to New Japan to stay hot if things cool again in the US, is Bronson Reed. Nobody saw this Bronson Reed run coming. This is a man who was beating Kazuchika Okada.
They were going to push him to the top.
They liked him enough to run with him, but sending back the WWE over version of that guy, even just for like a G1 or something like that, any kind of thing, like, it's fantasy booking, that's what we're doing. AEW the ones with the relationship. But I think like it's a bit of a perfect storm right now. Like the fact that he's never been more over here, sending him back over there, you get that Sheamus buzz and you get that kind of thing. And maybe controversial this one, but considering what I've seen of him in AEW this year versus where I've seen him wrestle elsewhere, I think Jon Moxley would be a more enthusiastic performer in New Japan. I would like to see another Moxley G1. This is not just fantasy booking from earlier in this video, but I'm not seeing what I feel is maybe the best of Moxley on North American side, certainly not on AEW television. I think like we've seen him do stuff with Josh Barnett over for the Bloodsport Bushido show. He's enjoying entering like judo contests and stuff. Like he's just
out, chilling at home,
just not being a North American TV wrestler. So like if that man finds his fire again, it's probably, I think New Japan could do with that as much as he could.
Miro as well.
Yes,
like
same reasons really.
Textbook example, a guy who we've really not seen bugger all of over the past few years, and I think stylistically would translate incredibly well.
One more, just because I'm like not as familiar with his game, and I saw him at Wembley Stadium in the flesh. He worked Rev Pro actually. This guy, Tomohiro Ishii, I reckon he could do big things over in New Japan.
Yeah, I wonder where they picked him up from. Strange one.
Performance center.
Yeah, must have been. Right, so the final question from my side is coming from Trey Matthews, who would like to know, when do you think AEW will pull the trigger on Ospreay versus Ricochet? It's a legacy match for this generation of wrestling.
Soon. Really soon. I would go, I was thinking it was going to be as early as this week's Dynamite, because I think it's so anticipated. The longer you leave it on ice, the more people A, lose interest, or B, raise their expectations so high that the match can't meet it. I fully expect this Ospreay-Kyle Fletcher pairing to lead to the Will Ospreay match maybe as soon as the very next AEW pay-per-view.
Which could have been answered by the time this one goes out.
That's true, it could.
Maybe should have picked a different question.
Will Ospreay's got a belt,
yeah.
So you can even have a title where Ospreay's selling the injuries and Ricochet gets to pick up a title straight away. It's good for his AEW run. You know, he's come in as a contender, a losing one, but a contender for the world title in the Gauntlet at Wembley Stadium. Yeah, I think it's the next pay-per-view. I don't think it's too early. I think you manage and measure this kind of monster of a match. It was this touring match for all these years, but we're talking 7 or 8 years ago. There are going to be loads of things in this match that are going to be tons better, but there equally are going to be things that maybe the wrestlers can't or won't do quite as fast or as snappily as they did all those years ago. Just do it while it's hot.
100%. I totally agree. There's no need to wait for this match whatsoever. You don't need a long build. You don't need some overcomplicated narrative coming into it. You don't need weeks and weeks and weeks of bit of tension between the lads.
Yeah.
Will Ospreay's already doing these interviews where he's like, show me who you are. Show me you've still got it. And
the
all
Seth Rollins derby.
There you go. So, like, yeah, don't wait around. Like, I get a bit sad, actually, when people talk increasingly, mostly younger people, what's more important, stories or matches? Blah, 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 as if a match can exist without a story. There's no such thing. Every match in itself is a story. Satnam Singh wrestling Leo Rush is a story. How is the much smaller man going to overcome the big tall guy? Far be it for me to quote this guy, but if you've ever seen the Jim Cornette clip about him talking about the fight at the side of the road, famous clip, I think it was on Dark Side of the Ring. It's exactly that. Right, nothing exists within a vacuum. Everything is part of a grander thing. And in this case, the story already exists. It's two guys who 6, 7, 8 years ago were the two preeminent high flyers in modern wrestling and had that just absolutely insane firework match in New Japan that sent some people completely off the wall and going insane, and other people just going, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Resuming their in-ring rivalry after a period away where both of them have evolved into different wrestlers, Ospreay especially. What do they look like in 2024? That's it. It's really simple. It's built on a competitive framework. It doesn't need no dramatic segments or anything like that. Book the damn match. Maybe they have by the time we're filming this, but sooner rather than later. Do it all out. Why the hell not?
Yeah, that's it. We've got that. The fact that, like, obviously we last year had kind of a bit of a complaint that the two shows were so close together. This is almost a benefit to AEW, right? You could book an entire pay-per-view off the sort of the follow-up from such an eventful All In and make All Out this like immediate sequel. Everybody's buzzing to see more of what we got. So yeah, let's effing go. Last one, and look, this could tie in to our all-out viewing experience here in the UK, or if you're watching at home in America, because Jamie at Vanders1980 has been on to ask, hello legends of YouTube, he must have been assuming Wilborn was in, sorry about that, what is your go-to food and drink while watching a wrestling pay-per-view at home?
Oh my goodness, yeah, I figured this was a good one for us to ask, so when Adam was off sick today, get well soon. He might actually be back by the time this goes out. I'm just aging it. I thought, hey, two real eaters are on the video here today. Oh, and Kane's here too. So I am very simple when it comes to food watching a pay-per-view. Usually it's too late to get a takeaway in here in the UK. I'm a crisps and sweets guy, to be honest. So when I'm eating crisps, I go two ways. It just depends how spicy I'm feeling. Because I'm either going a big bag of Doritos Chili Heatwave, or I'm buying a multi-pack of salt and vinegar McCoys and just pouring them in a bowl, like 6 packs, like an absolute disgusting freak of a boy. And then I'm following up with a Malteser course. Frankly, I get one of the Sheer pouches. Sheer in these situations is always a suggestion rather than an order, so I'd be sharing them with myself.
I've never known that Sheer pack being
and then I'm usually busting open a bottle of wine or a few cans of beer. That's how I'm enjoying the pay-per-view.
You made it cultured towards the end. Now I'm a 3-courser as well. Like I'm only human, of course. So like it is late at night, so it'll be cereal course as a starter. That's all goes without saying. It's the only way to start your day, nutritiously and healthy. Ideally the most sugary and chocolatey one there is.
Of course.
I'm not a heathen, so for my main course I'm having big crisps. You know, like it's either like a big bag of the my current favourite are the Sainsbury's salt and vinegar sticks, but you know, Smith's chipsticks, that sort of thing.
You can't really go wrong with those salt and vinegar sticks. They come in many different. The chipsticks are exceptional. The Tesco ones, they taste like an artificial, like it's like they've been 3D printed or something.
Yes,
and they're all the better for it.
That's it. Yeah, the faker the better. If I'm not feeling the salt and vinegar sticks, I'll go for some sort of meat crisp related option.
Roysters.
The 6-pack of Roysters T-bone steak.
Your house be stinking
We've had these
after that,
conversations
yeah.
before. He's at my house, be stinking about 3 weeks after those. The Walker's Max or the McCoy steak are both really great as well. Multi-pack. I don't pour them into a bowl. I like crisps out of the packet. I don't like crisps out of a bowl, but I just eat the packet.
My other half gets annoyed with the rustling. So
Alright.
I'm putting them in the bowl.
I will say, I'll take them out of the packet if there's bread involved because I like making a crisp butty as well. And then for the dessert, it's going to be big chocolate. So either, I'll tend to go with what's on offer. I'm not too fussy. I do like a giant Galaxy if I'm feeling a little bit like I want a taste of luxury. But equally, I'll take Cadbury's. I'll take a 4-pack of the 2-fingered twirls and just eat all 8.
Yeah.
If you then want to make a cup of tea, you can drink your tea through a twirl where you bite the ends
straw.
off each side, or like a Kit Kat chunky, you can do the same. You can use if you're drinking a cup of tea. For drinks, if not having brews, I'll just take, again, like the sugar-free and the zero range of pops in the UK has never been better. Pepsi Max Cherry, Pepsi Max Lime, Mango Tango, Berry, Mango Chango.
Mango Django number 5.
Berry Tango, Coke Zero, caffeine free. Like, I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know what they're putting in there to make them not taste like ass. It's probably worse for me than the sugar and the full fat, but I'm doing it anyway. That's where I will mix.
Yeah.
Apart from Coke, that just makes everything look like dirty seawater. But like, if I'm feeling a little bit fruity, I don't mind pouring 2 into the 1 cup.
That's where we differ
2 drinks,
slightly.
1 cup.
Yeah, that's where we differ slightly. I'm very simple when it comes to soft drinks. I like Coke and Pepsi and, that family of flavors, and I like Sprite and 7-Up and lemonades and stuff. Everything else to me is like undrinkable.
I will, of course, pick Mountain Dew, but I have to visit one of our local unlicensed newsagents to get ones because you can't buy it legally in the sort of main brand supermarkets aren't legally allowed to sell it, so you have to go down the back streets.
It's the same shop that inexplicably has like 20 different flavors of Quavers and
that's it.
stuff like that.
It's
like, where did you get this from? Did you make it yourself? Obviously not. Hey, but let us know your food choices in the comment section below. Don't eat like us. This is a terrible example.
No, this is the soft launch for the cooking channel.
Yes, it is. Thank you for joining us for today's Q&A. We'll be back with another next week. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video. Bye!